Hello, and welcome to the McTaggart Attack podcast. I'm Kevin McTaggart, and this, of course, is my podcast, where I give my opinions on whatever I want. That's it. That's basically it. It's either something I'm happy about, sad about, mostly angry about. Mostly this podcast is what's pissing me off. And that's what my podcast is for. It's provided, I do my podcast on the Podbean app. I do it on my phone usually, sitting in my car, because if I did it at home, I'd be afraid that people were thinking that I was screaming in the house or something, and I don't want to do that. So I do it in my car most of the time, and that's that. Yeah, it's my podcast. I say whatever the fuck I want. There will be cursing. There will be cursing. Thank you for anyone who's listening to this for the first time. If anybody ever wants to reach me, I have an email address of mctaggartattack@gmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at KevMcT. That's KEVMCT. Or the first three letters of my first and last name combined together. It's like the Voltron of Twitter. Not really. There's also the Facebook page for the McTaggart Attack podcast. I don't remember if I mentioned that or not. Which you can find on Facebook. But like I said, my podcast is my way of giving my opinions on whatever the fuck I want. And that's what I'm doing today. This episode is my new weekly football podcast episode. That's right. So that's exciting. Turn the music off because I don't think we need it now. But it's my football podcast. And when I thought about doing a football podcast, I didn't want to do a football podcast like everyone else does a football podcast. Because most football podcasts will be like talking to like experts and explaining things and previewing games and stuff like that. And I want my football podcast to be whatever is pissing me off about football. Either college or pro is what I'll be talking about each week. I'll pick a topic. I'll pick something that's pissing me off the most in football this week. Or something. Whatever I think is the most important topic to me that I think needs to be mentioned, I'm going to talk about it in my weekly football podcast that will come out every Thursday morning during the football season. There won't be any predictions on my football podcast, alright? This is the second episode, so I figured now is a good time to lay down the ground rules. There will be no predictions, mostly because I suck at predictions. I could give you analysis of my fantasy football teams. None of that. Won't be any predictions, won't be analysis, just be me telling you what's on my mind this week about football. And I figured, last week I talked about Andrew Luck's retirement and preseason rankings. And I wasn't really happy with that episode last week, to be quite honest with you. I thought it was shit. I don't like to do 2 topics an episode anymore. And I did 2 topics an episode, and that was a big fucking mistake. So this episode will be about one topic, and one topic only. And that topic is Florida State football. Florida State University football. FSU Seminoles football will be what this podcast episode will be about this week. I am a graduate of Florida State, class of 1998. I've been a fan of them since I started going to the school. I wasn't really before I went to Florida State. I just went here. I went to Florida State because it was the furthest away from going out of state without having to pay out of state tuition. That's why I wanted to go to Florida State. Plus, they were the first ones to accept me. All the other Florida schools did, but Florida State accepted me first. And that meant a lot. And then I became a fan of all the sports teams because I went to the school. You have to do that. That's the fucking rule. I had friends. I don't have... Most of my college friends I don't really talk to anymore, which is fine. But I had friends in college who, were fans of other schools, but they went to Florida State, which didn't really make much fucking sense to me. And, they had, a really damn good football team while I was there, after I was there, before I was there. And, the year before, they won the national title in the 93 season, and I was a freshman in the 94 season. So I never saw Charlie Ward play football. I saw Danny Cannell. I saw, after I graduated, I saw Chris Winkie, I think, play football. A few others. But yeah, it was lots of years of success with Bobby Bowden, most of those years, and then Jimbo Fisher, and now Willie Taggart's in charge, and I've done an episode on Jimbo Fisher and how much of a douchebag he is. He pissed me off because it seemed like after he won the national title in 2014 for the 2013 season, it seemed like his name was always rumored to go somewhere. So I was just let the fucker go. And he went. But he left the team in shambles. They went 7-6, I think, in his last season. And then I think they went 6-7 last year? They had their first losing record in 40 years. And I'm fine with it. That's the thing. I feel like most Florida State fans weren't fine with it. I'm look, a losing season was going to happen eventually. You can't win them all, especially when Jimbo Fisher leaves the team, the program in shambles. From what I didn't read an article, but there's an article that chronicles how bad Jimbo Fisher left that fucking team. But the main thing with Florida State that I want to talk about are just, and I've probably already alluded to it a little bit, is just Florida State fans just need to calm the fuck down. They get upset over the stupidest shit. And some of them just seem so goddamn entitled. It's fucking irritating. A few years ago, they changed their logo. To modernize it a little bit. Make it look a little bit more, they changed it up. It's still basically the same logo. It just looks a little different. And people were furious. Florida State fans were furious. I had a friend talk about, it looks like he's going to get a blowjob. I'm like, first of all, you're married with a wife. Why are you thinking about, that? That doesn't make, maybe you need to reconsider your life choices if all you're thinking about is giving someone a blowjob. But it just irritated me with how people just went so apeshit over the logo. Even now, like, I was on Twitter recently and someone got upset about the logo, and I'm like, it's just a fucking logo. I think it looks fine. I like the new Florida State logo. I think it's cool. I think change is good. I had no problem with it. I'm one of the few Florida State fans that had absolutely no fucking problem with the logo. I don't care. It's just an excuse for me to buy new shit. That's all I cared about. It's buying new stuff. Buying new Florida State stuff. But it's like, it's just irritating to me. Like, I haven't really experienced it that much, but I guess there's FSU Twitter or something. There's hashtag FSU Twitter, and how they're the absolute worst, most annoying pieces of shit on the face of the earth, from what I understand. But, like, goddamn, I just, how motherfucking selfish does Florida State fans have to be? Not all of them, just, the obnoxious ones. And, like, I have BC season tickets for football. And my dad and I went to the Clemson game last year. And we were sitting in front of these Clemson fans. And one of the Clemson fans was talking to some other people and talking about, how the nice fans and stuff. And, like, he then goes on about how Florida State has the worst fans. I'm like, I was wearing my Florida State shirt underneath my winter coat that I was wearing because it was really fucking cold, and I would have, like, shown it to him, but I can't disagree with that Clemson fan. I mean, I do think that there are Florida State fans out there who are just so goddamn arrogant and entitled, and just, they live and breathe the team, and it's just irritating to me. They just get so angry about all this stuff, and it's just, I get it that you want to be a passionate fan, but you need to draw a line somewhere and not be a total fucking douchebag. I mean, it's just irritating to me that even other fan bases think that Florida State fans are the worst, and they're probably right. Losing's going to happen. I'm being patient with Willie Taggart. I think he can do a good job. He just needs to build up his program. As a college coach, you need to give college coaches 3 or 4 years to get their classes in so they can build up the program the way that they want. You can't just, like, give them one season and be like, all right, fuck it, you're out of here. Plus, first of all, this guy wants to be here and he wants to succeed. So let's give him the fucking chance to succeed. Let him do it. Sure. I watched the first half of the Boise State game this past week, and I thought they looked great in that first half. And apparently, I left, because I was at a hotel room, and then I came back, and apparently Florida State left that game too, because they lost. But they looked good in the first half. That was the first half. Now they just have to put two good halves together. There was some sort of thing about hydration that they need to figure out, which I don't quite understand, because they're at Florida college. You would think hydration would be something they would be an expert in. I don't fucking know. But it's just calm the fuck down. Willie Taggart shouldn't be fired anytime soon. And you're not as entitled as you think you should be. You're not as entitled as you should be. It's just, I just get embarrassed by my fan bases, my fellow fans and my fan bases. It's just aggravating to me how entitled Florida State fans can be, and how arrogant and how embarrassing it is to read Florida State fans, be so adamant about their team, which is great, but it's just, really, there are other things in this world to be upset about. And if how your football team is doing is the worst part of your day, then I want your life. I want your life, if that's the fucking case. think I've gotten everything off my chest about Florida State fans that I need to get off about on my case. Just calm the fuck down, people. I love Florida State football and Florida State sports as much as anybody, but just stop being so goddamn judgmental and just try to enjoy it. So sure, they suck this year. Sure, they sucked last year, and sure, they may suck this year, but I don't think they'll be as bad as they were last year. Let's have some fucking hope, but just give them a couple years to turn this goddamn thing around. What the fuck is your problem? They lose one game and people go apeshit. Shut the fuck up. And that's the bottom line. If you smell what the McTaggart Attack podcast is cooking.